Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to talk about eyeshadow palettes, my favorite topic to talk about, and we are going to talk about my top 10 warm tone palettes in my collection. I really feel like these palettes have just knocked them out of the park. I really feel the quality is there, the color story is there. Some of them are like true warm tones, some of them are warm leaning, but you have interesting tones to it. I really love each and every one of the palette that I'm going to talk about. So if you're ready, let's begin. Some of the palettes have been discontinued, so you might have it in your collection. Majority of the palette, I would say, is from Indie Makeup. That's where my heart lays. So let's begin. The first palette that I'm going to talk about is the new palette from this brand, and I actually used this brand first time this year, and I fell in love with this. And I'm talking about Cosmic Beauty's Neutrals palette. You knew that this is gonna come. Like, this is such a beautiful color story. Yes, it is warm tones, but the shades that are chosen here, it's so beautiful. The way it shifts, look at the shade. It's so pretty and shifty, and there are some interesting tones to it. Yes, it is warm leaning, but it is not just like browns. Yes, there are browns, but there's reds, there's mustards, there's purple, there's green, there's fiery orangey pinks. I really love this palette. The quality is right up there, and I can get some subtle looks but very glam looks also using this palette. That's why I really love this, and the quality is right up there. So neutrals definitely on my list. The next palette that I'm going to talk about is a discontinued palette, but it's a collaboration palette, and most of you do have it in your collection. So just a reminder to use it back again. And I am talking about the Red Dragon palette from Odens Eye. This was in collaboration with Judy here on YouTube, and this palette, it's totally such a warm tone color story, but an interesting color story. I love each and every look that I get with this palette, and I still to date use this palette. It's such a beautiful palette. I think Judy absolutely knocked it out of the park with this color story, with this palette. I love Red Dragon's palette. Like, I still feel this Luna shade, the multi-chrome shade in this palette is such a unique tone. It's like a very dirty bronzy red to a green shifting shade. It looks so elegant on the eyes. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. Cannot wait to see what Odens Eye has coming for us next. Okay, now, if you are like Smithy, I'm not into shimmers. I want a matte palette, which is staple in my collection, but needs to be warm leaning. I have you covered. I'm going to talk about the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes, the original palette. This palette never steers me wrong. The quality is right up there. It's a full matte palette with 12 beautiful brown shades. It's such a beautiful palette. It definitely doesn't need any effort in blending or anything, and it builds so beautifully one on top of each other. The quality is right up there. I love to use this for my everyday looks. Like, for my office looks, this is just beautiful. I don't need anything else. I just pop a few shades on my crease and one shimmer on the eyelid, and I'm good to go. I really love to pair this with like my single shadows, the multi-chromes. So pretty. This is such a stunning, like a beautiful quality palette. You will definitely not be disappointed if you were eyeing this palette. Okay, let's talk about the newest launch from Gourmande Girls, and this palette truly is like summer in a palette, but with like beautiful warm peachy tones. And I'm talking about the Perfect Peach palette. This palette is stunning, like absolutely stunning. I'm actually wearing this palette in my eyes right now. I have this all across my crease blended with this. I have this all across my eyelid, and I have another shade in my inner corners from another palette. But this is so beautiful. And even the outer corner brown is not from this palette. I'll let you know when it comes. But this palette, so beautiful. I have a code with Gmon Girls. It's Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. If you love a good peachy color story with puffs of greens, this is beautiful. Like, absolutely stunning quality. Would highly recommend. Okay, let's talk about a Sigma palette. A Sigma palette which is warm tones, which is right up my alley. I really love this one, and this is Sigma Ambiance palette. If you love good like neutral goldeny tones on your eyes, I feel like this would be really good. Like it's not heavy by any means, it's not like dark on anything. It has like very light shade to very deep shade and everything in between. It's an equal split of shimmers and mattes the way Sigma does all the time. It comes with a dual-ended brush. It's such a good quality eyeshadow palette. I cannot recommend this enough. This is really pretty, especially for everyday looks. If you just want like a subtle shimmer on the eyelid and you want like just an easy everyday palette, this is beautiful. Especially if you're a little bit more like you like peaches and like oranges and like goldeny tones, this palette is right up your alley. Okay, let's talk about It's Belle Cosmetics. I feel like this is my favorite palette from them. I really love each and every shade that was curated in this palette, and this is the Pixie Grove palette. This palette is so stunning. The variety of looks that you can get out of this palette is just beautiful. You have those warm goldeny shades, the warm olivey tones, the orangey tones, this like warm pink to an orange shifting shade. You have those like foresty greens. You can do so much with this palette, and each and every look that you get out of this palette is truly amazing. It also have pops of pastel shades, like this minty green shade, and this iridescent purple is so amazing. Definitely cannot recommend this enough. This is such a stunning palette to have in your collection. I really love this palette. Like this, you cannot go wrong. If you love the color story, you will absolutely appreciate the quality of the palette. Just amazing. Okay, let's talk about a newer indie brand, and this is the only palette that they have launched so far. This was their first palette that they launched, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park, and they're coming out with 2 more palettes, and I'm eyeing their brand so very much. And I'm talking about Krypton Cosmetics, and this is their Burnt Forest palette. I feel like you can call this as a neutral palette too, but it has some fiery shades that makes it more like warm leaning. Like obviously this is warm, this fiery red shade, that is warm, this pinky fiery greeny shade, that is warm. Like it's such a beautiful palette, but I feel like I can definitely call this as the neutral palette too. Such a beautiful quality eyeshadow palette. I cannot recommend this enough. This is absolutely stunning in my opinion. The quality is there. The shade selection was absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to see what they have coming in their future because I'm very impressed with this one. If you want to see like my top 10 neutral palettes in my collection, like neutral as in not like beiges, I'm talking about like colorful neutral tones in the palette, let me know in the comment section below. Okay, let's talk about a colorful palette, which is this is like a mix of warm tones and cool tones all in one, and I'm talking about the recently Deinfluenced palette by Beaute. This palette has been launched again, and for a reason. This was such a stunning release from the brand. These warm tones are just amazing. You also get like a bunch of cool tones too, but it has some beautiful fiery shades. Like this fiery orangey pink shade has my heart, and these tones, they're so warm and delicious and just so yummy. I have code with Bella Beauty Bar at Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. In my opinion, they do Halloween palettes the best, like the fall palettes the best. I cannot wait to see what they have coming for the fall because I know it'll be a banger hit. Cannot wait, okay? This was definitely a hit. Okay, let's talk about another discontinued palette. I don't think that you can find it anymore, and this one was from Ladybug Glow. Ladybug Glow has stopped doing eyeshadow palettes, and I want to talk about their Floresta palette. If you have it in your collection, you know how much beautiful and unique color story this has. Look at the artwork. Oh my god, that colorway is just so amazing. I love it. And look at the color story. It's definitely unlike anything else that I have in my collection. This is so beautiful. It's like the warm yellows and greens with blues and pinks, and they have shifty shades. You know how much I love and adore Ladybug Glow shimmers. Their shimmers definitely knock it down the ballpark. Like this shade, definitely my favorite that they have. So beautiful. Definitely need to use it even more. Like this is stunning, absolutely stunning color story. I loved this palette from them. Like I absolutely adore it. Let's just dip our toes into mainstream brand for just a minute. If you love a neutrally golden tone color story, I feel like you'll absolutely love this palette. This is from Natasha Denuna and it's their new palette, which is the golden palette. Mine is a little bit more tweaked, okay? So the palette doesn't look like this, and you'll know why. I just tweaked it just because I feel like with my color story, with my undertone of the skin, I feel like I needed a little bit more deeper tone. So I definitely included this black, this maroon shade, this warm tone chocolatey brown shade. I also included this shimmer shade, which is more like warm tone leaning. But this, if you love golden tones, you will like this palette. You will not get a lot of variety out of this palette, but this is there for like an everyday elegant golden looks. You would appreciate this palette. I would not say go out and buy it, but if you have it in your collection, use it for your summer season before it gets done. It's a pretty palette. Let's talk about Ensley Rain. Ensley Rain Cosmetics recently just did come out with their Flutter and Flourish collection, and I feel like this Flourish palette is such a beautiful warm tone color story, but with so many pops of colors. This is such a fun palette. It's warm, it's yummy, it's delicious, it's shifty, it's just so beautiful. I have this all across my outer corners, and I have, which one did I have? This yellow thing on my inner corners. This shifts to a pink, so you will see a lot more pink on my inner corners. And I did pop it up with this Fairy Flutter shade on top of the lid. It's very, very stunning color story. It's very beautiful. I am an affiliate with Ensley Rain. It's Smithy Sony to save you 10% off if you use my code. Thank you very, very much. And last, certainly not least, let's talk about Simply Posh Cosmetics. I have two palettes to talk about. For their warm tone color story, I have to talk about Citrus Punch because you know, this screams warm tone summer tones. And I also need to talk about Cozy Cabin palette. If you're not into like oranges and like pinks, Citrus Punch is. This is a warm color story. I really love this palette. It's such a fun palette, and the shimmers have been elevated right now. This was an older formula when it was launched earlier, but now these shimmers are much more elevated, and I like the shimmer formula that they have right now. So if you're buying this palette right now, you will get that updated formula. But nonetheless, the color story is so pretty, so warm, so yummy. This is definitely, again, a very unique color story in my collection, and I absolutely love and adore it. I am an affiliate with Simply Posh too. You can use the code SMITHY to save you 10% off. Let me also show you the Cozy Cabin palette. I feel like this is my favorite palette that they have ever done in their collection, and they have a lot of palettes, and I have almost all the palettes that they have in their collection. But this I feel like is my favorite palette so far. This was their last year's holiday palette, and this is a mix of cool tone and warm tone. Obviously this side is more cool, this side is more warm, but either side you choose, it's such an interesting color story and such a yummy color story. Like I love to dip in and mix and match these shades together, and they just come out so perfectly. I love to pair these orangey shades with this purple shimmer. This is stunning. Absolutely a stunning palette in my opinion. Like definitely a well thought out color story, and I really appreciate this top-notch palette in my collection. I really hope that you guys enjoyed me talking about all the warm tone palettes that I have in my collection. Really love each and every one of them. But that's all for today, guys. If you did like this video, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.